time number 6 of the mass now to work on basically the same projects we've been doing for weeks and weeks and weeks.
What's the kids' book? Everybody Poops. Everybody Poops is the kids' book, so apparently everyone's concerned with that.
The screams all sound the same. And though the truth...
Thinking right about here for the length of the tiller.
And then we'll be able to extend it out further.
Extend it out to easily extend it basically to here. So to this position, which gives us just over 48 inches length for the
and then
tiller.
we still have the tiller extension that can snap on.
Tiller extension, so when you're sitting up here, you can actually steer, which we'll go over that in a little bit. But so to try to get a little bit more accurate of a cut, just putting on a hose clamp. I'm sure there's a smarter way of doing it, but at least it gives me a round, a fairly straight guide to go by. It actually fits. Which, yeah, I can use that as a guide then to cut. Put a little tape on it so I don't ruin Jessica's paint job.
As we've already done in so many places.
Yeah. It's a work boat.
Then I don't know why I bother to make it pretty.
It's got a job to do. Get us north. And then we'll put the foam wrap on so you have a nice smooth area to grab on, not slipping. Should be nice and warm then too when we're in colder areas, but so far that's the plan. Ooh, and I think it's set up for you.
Yeah, it's probably pretty tight.
Oh.
And no, I will not do this job for you because the mask is fit to my face right now.
Come on. Fun fiberglass. Almost all the way through. Spin it so I can use the guide over on this side. And that actually cut a lot quicker than I thought it was. A lot less effort. Look at that. Fairly smooth, fairly straight.
Not bad, Johnson.
Not bad for 30 seconds of work. Look at that, nice and short now, or shorter. Extend it out. Nice.
Perfect. I see.
And then our new tiller extension. Ooh,
so fancy.
So now I don't have to use my foot and a
Sail tie.
piece of string or sail tie. So now I can sit on the edge here, nice and comfy, and steer. And then if I need to, ooh,
wow.
Extends out. Look at that.
That is awesome.
Who's fancy now?
Let's go try it out.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Peanut Island.
Nice articulation. This is the good life.
Much better than a wheel.
Much better than a wheel. Crazy wheel people.
I know.
Yeah. But look at that. Because this is something you can do.
Now there's so much more space for activities.
I cannot believe how high it is right now.
I know, that's crazy. Look at the water levels. It's going up again. Would you like to explain what we're about to do here?
Going up the mast again.
Again, what is
back
it?
and forth, back and forth.
Third time this week?
Yeah, third time this week. So the tricolor that we got is supposed to be a 2-wire hookup where you reverse it, reverse the polarity, and it's either an anchor light or it's a tricolor. So just a 2-wire hookup. So we get it mounted, so on and so forth, when the mast was down. Wired it with 2 wires, and couldn't figure out why it wasn't working at this point. So finally pull it off. Off the wiring harness. Odd, but the wiring harness had, I think, 5 wires. And so I had it hooked up to the 2 wires that the manual said were the correct ones. Well, come to find out that this, in fact, is a 3-wire, not a 2-wire, so we have to run a new wire down the mast. I had a spool of wire, an individual primary wire, 14 gauge, that we tried running down last time. I was up the mast, and unfortunately I think I was about 2 feet short, so it spooled off, went into the mast, and we were lucky we were able to pull that wire back out, but I needed to order a new one. So tried to set up again and go up again for the 3rd time, but finally get that anchor light hooked up properly.
Yep, so then we won't have all those cords running, which you could probably see in our last few videos. We're
Yeah.
kind of messing with the companionway area.
Yeah. So this is a 6-to-1 purchase, ratcheting block, and just a standard Garhauer ball bearing block with climbing rope. That's how we're going up the mast.
Yep.
So it makes it a little bit easier. We typically, besides that, or we go down and pull it, and Jess can do it with the primary winches. But we do this, and then I have a separate harness that I wear. This will be connected to a bosun chair. Separate harness that I wear, and Jess will run and tail. As I'm pulling myself up, Jess will tail the other one and cleat it down for me. So in case this were to go, I have a whole separate harness that's holding me up as well. So nice and safe, not really have to worry.
So one of the things Matt's going to do when he's ready is attach the wire to a line up top, and it runs down to this guy here. So eventually I will untie this and then start pulling it out, so that will bring the wire all the way down to the bottom of the mast, and then we'll run this back up for the next time if we need to, and we'll be pretty much good to go. Time number 6 up the mast now to work on basically the same projects we've been doing for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Someone lost a line in the mast.
Yeah, that was all me. My knot tying skills are shit.
Yeah. So
But we've got
now
our,
we got to
our
try
fish.
fishing this through.
Yeah. And Matt's also got, can you pull it out of the bag again, your lube. Nice lube.
Big bottle of lube.
Yep.
How much was it?
$9.
Holy crap.
Expensive or cheap?
Expensive.
Well, they didn't sell it smaller sizes. Alrighty. Midday sun, let's put you at the top of the mast to get to work.
Not going to the top.
Going with
Just the first spreader.
Gotta tell me if the gator's around again. I need warning this time to film it.
See if there's any
Fish.
dead fish next to the boat.
I don't know, we could probably find one to put there.
No, that'd be feeding the gators. That's bad.
Well, it took some time, but we eventually got the cord out.
We?
It took Matt trying. I say he has longer fingers,
Nope.
so we're not gonna just talk about how incapable I am. So.
If at first Jessica doesn't succeed,
Let Matt do it.
let Matt do it. What's the kid's book?
Everybody Poops.
Everybody Poops is the kid's book, so apparently everyone's concerned with that. The composting head. Here's my brief little summary after using one for a while, a home built unit. Cool, neat thing. If we were staying in the US specifically, or in a no discharge place specifically, I think it's a great item to have versus having a conventional holding tank and a head. The fact that a lot of the places that we go will not be, or are open discharge areas, I don't really see a huge benefit with them. I think they're a conventional head dumping overboard is more convenient, easier. We've had a huge education in our bathroom habits, and a lot more intimate with our discharges than I really want to be.
Anyone really needs to be.
That anyone ever should be. There's a lot of hands-on with it. And we're still in that learning phase too, of the correct amount of compost to use, the schedule for emptying the pee jug.
Yeah, it's overflowed on me a couple of times.
Yep, it's overflowed a few times. And
my fault. I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, it stinks. So we've got to address that as a. We're going to use I think a leak detector alarm and have that so it can sense once it hits a certain point, and then we know to empty it.
Because then you try to remember like every 5 days or so, then you start to forget, and then it gets to 7 days, and oops, it's full.
Yep, it's full. It will actually start smelling it, is what it does.
It smells like it overflowed.
Strangest thing, because it isn't sealed with the hose leading into it. It isn't sealed, but there's no odor for urine until it overflows. Once it overflows, then it smells like pee. It smells like a Subway in New York. We haven't really had any issues with odor at all, but we did have to do a few things to get to that point. One of them, in our first round of this, we talked about how it was kind of open towards the bilge, and there wasn't really a way to cover that off permanently, because we needed access to the seacock that's there and so on. What we ended up doing is just using duct tape. Simple, easy. That way we can remove it if we have to quickly and still gain access to some of those different things. Not the seacock. Seacock's exposed. But the area that leads to the lower part of the hull, we can seal that off, and we actually have a pretty good airtight seal, which then forces the fan system to create kind of a vacuum and suck out everything in that area. Other thing we ended up doing too is we had the toilet, the trash can that we had in there. We originally put a plastic bag in there. That lasted 1 day, and we quickly realized that was not going to work whatsoever. So we removed that, and now we're just using the actual plastic trash can.
Which we've also cut some holes in.
We put some air holes, vent holes across the back area. That was just necessary. When I built it around the trash can, and so I left no area for air transfer whatsoever. So we had to drill some holes in the back of that. They're not visible, create no problems, but it does allow ventilation there, so that worked out well. The other thing too is the toilet seat itself. I put a seal around it, something that we got from Ink Mastercar again, EPDM seal. Works really well just to focus that and make sure that the air is flowing from where we want it, going out where we want it. So all in all, it seems to be working okay. It's a livable solution. For us with an aluminum boat, and the fact that there wasn't a holding tank before, it's the best solution. For us, it worked well for that, and it fit the space that we needed.
So that is the update on our head.
That is the update on the head, the composting head that everyone's asking for. We'll give another one later on after we've, again, hammered out all the final details to it. We did get little containers for the compost and for toilet paper as well that are just going to sit back behind the head. I need to build a wooden fiddle around that to hold them into place, but we're just slowly but surely coming to grips with the fact that we live with a composting head. So the issue that we had with the Tricolor, our anchor light, it's a Lunacy product, nicely built unit. Problem that we had though is we thought we purchased a 2-wire unit. It said it in the box was a 2-wire unit. It is actually a 3-wire, so we had to run another wire down. Say wire again. Another wire down the mast to make that work. That in itself wasn't a big issue. The problem that we ran into as well is let me grab the light. So the problem I ran into is this is an aluminum case. The thing is built around. The ground is faulting to the case right now. So the issue that we ran into, we were getting 12 volts ground down our mast whenever we had this connected. There's a fault inside of it. So just like everything else, we've had issues with it. Brand new item, again, something that we bought brand new, install it. Haven't used it at all. It's never actually even worked for us, and it has a ground fault in it. And so one of the things we can do is we can add a bushing to the bottom and separate this from the masthead. If it gets salt water or it gets particles in there, there's a way that it actually can still kind of connect and start that problem again. So I don't know exactly what we're going to end up doing. They haven't responded to any emails, just like B&G. Fun. But so we don't know exactly what we're going to do. We're looking at getting a new Tricolor or a different one then. Just because the fact we can't have, being an aluminum boat, we can't have the electrical issues that this could be. Then the other fun was when, to get this off, I had to remove the piece of acrylic I installed on top. That was where this mounted. It also had our brand new B&G anemometer. We've kept it. We've had it for 2 years now. We kept it in its box, so we never damaged it. They're kind of delicate type of thing. As we were removing that, which has been installed for 1 whole week, as we were removing that, it did drop and it hit the deck and sheared off the bottom of that little piece now. You want to see it?
Sure.
So as you can see, it sheared off the bottom here. I tried gluing it back together so far with a plastic adhesive. I don't know what type of plastic this is. I'm not 100% sure. It's very strong, maybe a Delrin type of thing, which doesn't really work too well for that. Gonna keep trying it. $500 thing that has had 1 week worth of use so far. So fun. But that's what we've been doing. So now I have to try to figure out how to fix the anemometer. Otherwise, what we'll end up doing is switching to Maratron, one of their ultrasonic ones. Again, haven't had the best relationship with B&G, so trying to avoid them like the plague. We'll probably end up switching to that. That uses the same NEMA 2000 cable, so we're fine there. Once we get that installed, the other thing too is running the Wilson antenna for the WeBoost, our cell phone antenna. That requires a big thick cable, so there's no signal loss, and we didn't leave enough space for that in the conduit. It was something that we weren't planning on doing when we had the mast down. Once the mast got up is when they contacted us, and it's a wonderful addition. We just don't have the room in our conduit to run it, so we're trying to figure out a way to make that work as well. We may end up having to put up with a little bit of loss and get a thinner cable to run that. But so bend up and down the mast dozen times now and have gotten 0 done, unfortunately. Broke some very expensive things, so I think up and down the mast 12 times, $700, $800 in the hole, and that is where we're at after 2 weeks worth of work.
Yeah, fun time.